Babysitters of Reddit, what were the weirdest rules parents asked you to follow? I had to change the kid's cloth diaper every 2 hours on the dot. The kid was 6. I assumed it was for some sort of disability or something, but no. His parents just didn't want to potty train him, and the kid was content with being babied. I remember just making the kid put his own diaper on and encourage him to use the bathroom if he had to go. I never went back. I had to put the kids to sleep with the CD player going. That wasn't the weird part. It was a recording of their parents basically going, "Molly, you are wonderful. You are a star. You're going to shine bright." That isn't super weird, but it was like several hours long, and apparently they listened to it every night. After a few hours it changed to become a ninja and honor your ancestors. No hot sauce after 9 PM. I love that this became a problem. My mom told me a story of when she used to babysit during her teenage years. She did it for this religious family whose church did not believe in television or their members watching it. She would bring a portable TV with her to watch once the kids were asleep. The parents came home and they were captivated by it. They would invite her over just so they could watch television. Not necessarily a rule, but the first time I went to their house they told me about their daughter's very serious peanut allergy, walked me through the EpiPen, prevention, phone numbers of their neighbors who were doctors, all fine so far. I took this very seriously, but then the mother put her hands on my shoulders and said if she dies we wouldn't blame you. It wouldn't be your fault. While I appreciate the thought, this freaked me the heck out and I was 100 times less comfortable. Someone wanted you to off their kid. Asked me to drive their 3-year-old twins around in my personal vehicle for 2.5 hours because that's the only way they can nap. Number. I simply put the kids in their beds, closed the door, and they were asleep in 15 minutes. Not a rule, but a single mom once told me to use a bat by the door in the event the kid's father comes by and tries to take them. That was pretty weird and uncomfortable. Hippie Family. The 2-year-old had no bedtime and no rules. She can eat what she wants, no bedtime. And if she falls asleep, leave her wherever she crashed. The parents came home at 2:30 to a toddler eating chocolate cake on the couch with her preferred American pickers on TV. That's fine apparently. 6 months later the mom is very pregnant and asks that when the baby is born, if I could wrangle the toddler while the mom gives birth in a bathtub at home. The 2-year-old was to be in the room, watching, while I explain what's happening. I left that evening when the parents came home, fried chicken in the toddler's hand, Keeping Up with the Kardashians on TV, and denied their next request to come sit. As a 20-year-old, I wasn't prepared to see the mess of someone else's home birth. I used to babysit for this family when I was in high school, in the 80s, and they had no books or reading material of any kind, except that there would usually be like 2 sections of the WSJ and a running magazine lying around. Number. Books. Anyway, once I went over there and the mom told me like 9 times, begged me, not to eat the box of Nilla wafers that was in the cupboard because she needed them for a recipe the next day. Begged. I was like, okay, got it. They're totally safe because I don't even like vanilla wafers. She kept mentioning it, and it was the first thing she asked me about when they got home. Should have gone and bought some Nilla wafers and been eating the new box when the mom came home. On the opposite end of the spectrum, the family gave me instructions to let their kids drink chocolate milk, which they were otherwise not allowed to have. I think they wanted their kids to associate babysitter time with fun time, so the parents could go out more often. Seemed to work out well for them. The kids both grew up to be successful people. These kids I babysat a lot for when I was a teenager loved when I came over because we got to watch a movie, eat frozen pizza, mac and cheese, hot dogs, other fun foods. The daughter was a huge girly girl and the mom was not, so I would usually paint her nails and braid her hair and we'd watch Star Wars, so the son was thrilled. I loved babysitting for them. Babysat for a family that had 3 boys, 1 a newborn. I was never to feed the baby by holding it next to me, but I was to put it on my legs and make eye contact with him at all times. No cuddling. Also, I was never to let the older boys lose any game we were playing. I quit after about a month. Years later I found out that youngest one, the baby that wasn't to be cuddled, jumped off the Golden Gate Bridge. That's what happens when you have a completely emotionally distant relationship with your children. That time is so essential for development, and without human contact, our brains literally cannot develop properly. Crap like that should be prosecutable as abuse neglect. To give him warm milk in a baby bottle right after every dinner. He was a fully functional 10-year-old boy. That is indeed freaking weird. If Brady stands by the door, it just means he needs to go out, open the door, and let him back inside in a few minutes. Brady was a 4-year-old boy. The mom had me put her kids in their car seats and sit in the driveway with all the car doors open while she just hung out inside the house. 5 hours of me standing in the driveway watching them sit inside their car. Never returned. That's called pretending you don't have kids. OMG, thanks for asking because you reminded me of a weird thing. The 3-year-old daughter had to watch this VHS tape of a live Fleetwood Mac concert before bed. I was like, okay, cute. That's adorable. 3-year-olds love the weirdest things. She's so quirky and this will be fun. But she didn't love it. She always wanted to watch Land Before Time instead, but it was always on the note left for me, like pager number, pediatrician, chicken soup for dinner is in fridge and watch Fleetwood Mac at 630 before bed. Obviously the family eventually found out I wasn't making her watch it, as I had no freaking reason to believe it was a secret. They were clearly upset by this and I was never called back to babysit, so that was weird. Should have told them lies. Sweet little lies. Wasn't a rule, but on my first day they sent over an adult male friend of theirs who asked to come in. I said no, and was then told I was being tested and I had passed. When I was about 14, some friends of my parents asked me to babysit their 9 or 10 son who wanted a boy babysitter. When I got to their house, the mom told me that her son loved poached eggs and asked me to make him a poached egg on toast for dinner. She quickly explained to me how to make it as if it were something really simple and easy. Later that night, after wasting half their eggs in a hopeless effort to make a poached egg, I asked the kid if he liked scrambled eggs. He said he loved scrambled eggs and ate them without complaint. When the parents came home, I apologized for using up their eggs. They laughed and seemed to appreciate the effort, although the mom explained it again and insisted that it was really simple. I'm almost 40 now and I still suck at making poached eggs, and it cracks me up that the mom thought a 14-year-old should be able to whip one up based on a few instructions. On the other hand, as a parent, I appreciate the heck out of that kid. It's nice to see that the mother didn't scream at you over this, like most of these other stories. Still a bit weird, but no real harm done. Only 2 hours of reading time. To be fair, the mom was a librarian and her 2 kids were adorably nerdy. They had an entire room filled with books, and even then we'd make trips to the library from time to time. The rest of the time was supposed to be outside or doing some activity. It was a super sweet deal too, because she paid for not only her kids to have a pool pass but me as well. So we basically went every day all summer and we would play in the pool. I want to have to limit the reading time of my future kids. Come on sweetie, you already read 3 hours today. Time for some good old TV. One had me feed her 1-year-old only from a freshly opened baby food container. If she only ate 2 or 3 spoonfuls, I was to throw it away, and when she wanted more in 15 minutes I was to open a new one. I thought it was so she would finish her meal and be full for a while, but she said it was okay to feed her every time she wanted it. I would probably throw away 5 or 6 jars in a 2-hour sitting. They cost more than I usually made for sitting. Babysat for a woman who knew my mom. She had 2 kids, both acted like feral animals, kicked and bit me very hard when I told them no. She had her TV behind a plexiglass thing because they keep breaking TVs. She had locks on the outside of the bedroom door and crib set up that essentially locked the younger kid, 3 or 4 years old, into her crib. It had a top that you pulled down and padlocked to the sides. It was absolutely horrific. The kids screamed bloody murder when I tried to get them to listen. Their grandma who lived next door came over. Did she come over to help me out? No. She gave these kids cookies and crap talked me for not being able to control them. Like it's my fault that her grandkids act like animals and not the fact that their mother apparently treats them like animals and she herself gives them treats when they have temper tantrums instead of putting them in timeout like a normal person. Their mom promised to be back by 9. Important because I was in high school. She wasn't back until 2 AM and that was after I started calling all the bars to find her. I was planning to eat dinner afterwards so I was starving. I called my mom and she ordered delivery for me. The grandmother got pissed that she didn't order enough for the kids too and guilted me into sharing it. The mom finally came home, paid me $10 for 10 hours of babysitting even though we agreed on $20 for 5 hours and proceeded to crap talk me next time she went out saying I was lazy and a bad babysitter. She said I should have beat their asses and locked them in the bedroom when they started acting up. Not babysitter, but my friend was 24 and his parents asked him to watch their house while they were gone. They left a list of rules and instructions. It was on a laminated paper and looked like something for a 10-year-old. He was not allowed to answer the door and if someone kept knocking he was to call the cops. Mayo at 24, I hope he was able to ignore this and answer the door. The mother asked me to stop by the house to meet her 2-year-old son a week before I was supposed to babysit him for the first time. I pulled up to the house and saw that the young boy was standing at the glass front door with a t-shirt on and nothing else. I go in and I must have given the child a strange look because the mom started to explain that her son doesn't like to wear pants so they let him run around pantsless with no diaper on, though he isn't potty trained. I told her that this made me uncomfortable and asked if I could put pants on him when I was watching him, and she got upset with me and said they don't like to make their 2-year-old son do anything he doesn't like to do so they let him run around without pants on, which unfortunately means he goes to the bathroom on the floor since he won't wear a diaper and he isn't potty trained. Not a bad idea to meet the parents and kid first though. Not a rule, as I only went there once, but a very odd request. I used to work housekeeping at a hospital. A doctor that was frequently on the floor that I worked on asked me if I could watch his kids on Saturdays. He had 3 toddlers, ages 2, 3, and 4. His wife didn't work but wanted time to go shopping and get her hair and nails done. I totally understand, as my son was 4. I was also allowed to bring him. I get there early as the doctor is getting ready to leave. He says he's cooking breakfast and while he gets the kids fed and dressed could I help change his wife's tampon. She'd drunk a lot the night before and was completely passed out and was leaking and messing up their sheets. He's a doctor. I told him I should work for someone more than a few minutes before I go rummaging in their private parts and that I'd tend to the kids if he tended to his wife. What I really wanted to do was leave but the kids would be home alone with their hungover mother so I chose to finish cooking and stay. He went upstairs and sent the kids to the kitchen where I was putting food on plates. After a little while he popped his head in and said it was a short day. He was done upstairs and he was leaving. I never met the wife. He came home at noon, gave me $100, and I never spoke to him again. This is the weirdest thing I've ever heard. If the kids misbehaved I was encouraged to spank them with a paddle they had, then make them write their names on it. Another family was perfectly normal until bedtime. Then I had to give the 5-year-old girl a bottle, put her in a diaper, then cuddle with her until she fell asleep. Like I said, everything else about her and the family was normal, but at bedtime I basically had to treat her like an infant. God, this sounds so unhealthy. I used to regularly babysit one of my younger cousins. At nap time I had to put her in a zip-up pajama with feet. I then had to duct tape the zipper down and duct tape the wrists in a way that wasn't restricting but she couldn't pull her hands into her onishi. If I didn't do this she would pull her hands in and dig in her diaper. Always. My aunt got tired of cleaning poop covered walls regularly. My daughter painted a few times. I just started putting her pajamas on backwards, so she couldn't reach the zipper. The kid couldn't have dessert if she didn't finish her dinner. Problem was she was about 4 or 5 and dinner was 2 cheeseburgers and sides. She ate half of one and was okay with not getting dessert. No sweet tooth developing there at least. I never really had any rules to follow but I did have one terrible mother. The mom asked me to babysit her 3 kids overnight. As I was in high school I couldn't do it, so she said she could be back by 9 PM. I figured it was fine, and let my mom know. Even though they only lived a few houses away, the kids were great. We played around, watched a movie, I fed them and put them to bed. 9 PM rolls around and the mom was nowhere to be found. She hadn't left a number to reach her, and I figure she was just running behind. I cleaned up and watched some TV while waiting for her. 10 PM hits, not home. 11 PM, nope. Finally at around 12 PM, I call my mom. I explain what's up, that I am tired and have school in the morning act. She agrees to come and stay away the house with the kids till their mom shows up. Turns out she didn't come home till around 10 AM the next morning, long after my mom had called CPS. She gave my mom $20 for 16 hours of babysitting. None of the neighborhood kids were allowed to babysit for her after that. When I was 14, the neighbors asked me to come for an interview as a babysitter. They were on a couch and I was sitting in a couch opposite. Every time I looked at the dad, he would shift his eyes down to his lap. Eventually, I also looked down on his lap. He was wearing very short shorts with no underwear and his penis hanging out against his leg. Needless to say, I declined the offer. When I was a kid, I got paid $75 a week to watch two boys over a summer. It was amazing money, but the dad was a big bounter, and he made loads of deer chili, and he insisted that his 10-year-old and 2-year-old eat tons of it. They loved it, but the 2-year-old would take these massive, awful, horrible, nasty chili shoots constantly. The dad explained all this to me, and my instructions were to just put him in the shower and hose him down. I was offered plenty of chili but never ate any. As a 35-year-old man, after taking massive chili shoots, or any other kind of shoots, I, too, put myself in the shower and hose myself down. Save the trees. Don't tickle the kids, don't let them tickle each other. There were boys 8 and 10. Apparently they were getting erections while tickling each other and it ended in some aggressive wrestling. Oh my god. I was babysitting a 3-4-ish yo girl and a 18-mo boy. The boy had to be carried in a buggy, which is all very well, but I was supposed to add some kind of mini stairs, 2 steps, on the back of it so the girl could stand on it because her legs get tired, said parents while making quotation marks with their fingers. The dang thing hit my legs every time I took a step. That kid was also taught to not wait and look for restrooms when she needed to go and proceeded one time to take a crap in a public garden and wipe herself with a leaf with an ease that certified me that wasn't her first time. I had a friend who lived in the country. He grew up peeing anywhere. I babysat my 4 cousins once, aged maybe 8 to 12. One night, they all asked for me to read a story, so I happily obliged. When I told my aunt, she replied, "They're much too old for that. Why did you do it?" Well, if the kids want a story, I'll read them a story. Why the heck not? I've read stories to my 35+ husband before. In the car though, not before bedtime. Poor kids, they were probably starved for attention. My mom was an elementary school teacher. When my kids were young and she'd come to visit, I'd always go in the room and listen when she read to them. There's something really soothing about having someone read to you. Don't let the children play with the non-believers. They were a super Christian family that I babysat for a few times. One time the children were looking out the window at the neighbors playing and I asked if they wanted to go outside and play. And I crap you not, this little 5-year-old looks me in the eyes and says we can't. They are not of God. So freaking creepy. I wasn't asked back after I accidentally said oh my gosh one time. Apparently gosh is too close to godlmayo. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.